to a Grand Prix a few years back. I was bitterly disappointed I couldn't come this year, but no, I love being at the track. It kind of feels like home. However, not virtually. It's a little bit different.
So you're doing a virtual race. You're not tempted to have a go at the real thing?
I'd love to. I would absolutely love to. I came here last week and I went out on Snow Circuit with a great young driver called Jan, who's from the Driver Academy, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I was really looking forward to this. But being on the road, I love cars and kind of driving is completely different being on a game and doing it virtually. So fairly confident with the lap times that I'm doing and hopefully improving them, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be very tough.
Are you finding it? How's the competition between the three of you guys?
There isn't any. To be quite honest, we know Jace. He's got his race face on, and he is the master when it comes to this kind of thing. So we are expecting Jace to have the best times and the quickest times and be a saviour. At the end of the day, we'll be good. Me and John will be good. I've been managing to pull some half decent times out, so I've only been on there for like an hour and a half. But yeah, Jace is definitely the one that we're all cheering on. He'll pip it to the post, as they say.
Thanks for talking to us. We'll see you on the main event next year, yeah?
Yeah, hopefully. Just need a sponsor if you're out there. Thanks very much.
Take care. So that means Nicholas Mee Racing, number 49 Aston Martin, is then going to move back up into the lead of the class. So we are yet to see the Phil Driver piloted, number 1 MJC Ferrari, the Wittgamski also owns car, serve its second stop and go penalty, plus 16 seconds that they've gained for speeding in the pit lane. We're also yet to see the ARC Bratislava car re-emerge through sector 1, so work being done to cool that one off. Well, certainly not cooling off at all is Phil Keane at the wheel of the Eclipse Ferrari, number 2. He's just done that car's best lap of the race again, a 2 minutes 12.171. The only car that's setting comparable.
Between the Mosler and the second place Nissan 370Z, but that's on lap 41. On lap 31, the gap was just 12 seconds. So, let's say 45 seconds he's pulled out in 10 laps. He's not pulling. He is the fastest car on the circuit at the moment. The Aquila at the moment isn't quite as quick. Although, having said that, the Aquila's just put it in its fastest lap of the race, although not the fastest lap of the race, which was still done by the Aquila when Bob Berridge was behind the wheel. That was earlier on. But it certainly, as the temperatures cool, as the air temperatures cool, the track will rubber in, and speeds should increase, lap times should drop.
Well, into the pit lane has come the number 1 Ferrari to serve its second penalty of the race. We've also got the team manager now of cars 49 and 80 being called to race control. So Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin, and also car number 80, which is the Synchro Motorsport Honda Civic. Both of them have been summoned to race control. So as things stand, an hour and 40 minutes into the race, it is car number 4 that leads the way, the Strata 21 Mosler. It's completed 42 laps and has a lead now of 65 seconds over second place number 31, the RGO Motorsport Nissan, which is yet to make its first pit stop. Very lengthy stint for them. In third place it is the Aquila number 6, Gareth Evans at the wheel. In fourth place it's car number 2, the Eclipse Ferrari 430 with Phil Keane at the wheel. Fifth place is number 30, the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta G55, Michael Simpson at the wheel. Sixth place is car number 3, the Top Cats Racing Mosler. And then into seventh place we've got the Top Cats Racing Marcos, although the order has just shuffled slightly because we have seen a gain of places for the number 1 car. I'm not quite sure how that works, and then that's immediately been shuffled back down, and then it's Nicholas Mee Racing car that's there in 9th, and that leads class 3. In 10th place number 61 the Scuderia Vittoria, number 61 car we're hearing about from Chris Hartley. That rounds out the top 10. In 11th place, and again still to make its first pit stop, is number 81, the Alex Osborne Seat. In 12th place number 83, the CTR Developments car, second in class 4. 13th place is car number 66, and that is the Dorset Sports Porsche. In 14th place is car 68, the Intersports BMW. 15th place is car number 46, and that is the Motion Sports Lotus Elise. 16th place we've got number 5, the ARC Bratislava car, which is currently in the process of being quietened down. In 17th place we've got number 70, the McLeod Holden Astra. 18th place is car number 84, the Red Camel Seat. That's a superb performance from them, up into 18th position, but again yet to make their pit stop. 19th place is number 79, the Synchro Motorsport Honda Jazz, and then rounding out the top 20 is car number 88, the Mardi Gras Honda Integra. So that is how things currently stand in the top 20. We have just had, I see, emerge out onto the track the number 55 Seat that we heard from right at the start of the race, the Welsh Racing Seat Leon, and having been in that first lap incident, they thought it would take an extra 30 minutes to get that car repaired. It's taken a little bit longer, but that car is out on track, which is good to see. We are still yet to see the Thorney Motorsport car re-emerge. The Optimum Racing Ginetta as well has not appeared out on track, and the gearbox change ongoing as well for the Sageris number 28 and the Gemco Racing Ginetta number 47 also still in the pit lane.
I take it that Jim Cameron, he hasn't been in for a pit stop yet. I see he's made it into the top 30.
He has.
Army car.
Yeah, it's an impressive performance, and he is therefore 3 places clear of the second of the Mazdas, number 75, and then the third of the Mazdas is well down the order, having had various problems, down in 55th position, the 45 car. So they're the leading Mazda, and again, yet to make a pit stop. Lengthy stint, but of course they have the benefit of not having a roof, so Jim Cameron being called down just a little bit more. Chris might have some news from the pit lane.
Yeah, Aston Martin news. I just spoke to Tom Black, the Aston Martin Vantage.
For the line. We'll do this straight to camera. Nigel. And with the team manager or team owner of the Aquila team, we've seen the car come through the pits twice. Tell us a little bit about what's happened in the first hour.
Well, the first time it came through the pits was due to a penalty caused by overtaking after the pace car before the line. And the regulations say you must be over the line. Unfortunately, we rather hoped that the pace car would pick us up as the leader, but he didn't do that. Second time through, we thought we had a puncture, but I think we've just picked a lot of rubber off, and it's causing a vibration. So we think that's what the problem was.
It's early days. The car's got loads of pace. I mean, is it a setback, or is it just something that you can make? Is it time you can make up in the next 22.5 hours?
Yeah, it's a long, long way to go yet. So we're just going to try and iron through the problems and just keep our foot down, and hopefully we'll end up somewhere handy.
And how's the car? Is everything as expected? It's running well, and everything's so far going to plan.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of an issue with it cutting out, which we thought was a temperature-related and rev-related problem. We now think it might be something linked either in the line wiring room or maybe the traction control. So next pit stop we're going to do a driver change and try and disconnect the traction control and hope that'll do it.
We see some drivers suffering out there. It's hot. How did Bob get on in his first stint?
Well, Bob's been on a massive 3-stone diet, and he's super fit, so I think he can go for another 2 or 3 hours, but of course the rules don't allow that. But I'll let you know when I've got in, probably 8 o'clock I think.
Thanks for talking to us. Cheers.
No problem.
Amount of fuel, or not reduced, but because he's used it up, there's only 75 litres allowed to go in. So it may not go as far on its next stint. So, as I say, fuel strategy from our point of view is rather difficult to work out without knowing how much fuel there is in the tank at the beginning of any particular pit stop.
Sorry guys.
Sorry, Robin.
Carry on.
No, after you, Robin.
Just going to say, just a quick query from a member of the public, to which I don't know the answer, so I'm going to throw it to you guys. Is there an official lighting up time? Is there a moment at which drivers have to get their lights on, and if they don't, they get pulled up before the beak?
Paul Truswell is currently scouring the final instructions, which I think gives you the immediate answer. We will endeavour to find out.
I sounded such a sensible question, I just didn't quite know what to say.
I don't know. I think part of the answer is that the driver discretions should sort most of that out. But I'm sure that it is a set time in line with dusk. We are beginning to get some of the lights beginning to appear on some of the quicker cars in particular now. So the RGM Motorsport Nissan has been shuffled down into 4th position.
Car 92, the Smarts View Racing Smart of, I think Paul Bates still on board, has just driven, I have to say at a rate of knots, under its own power, back to the paddock. So obviously a problem for them, but he's taking an unusual way home.
As in, he went past you on the circuit access roads?
That's the word, yes. At unabated pace, as far as I could tell.
The rule, Robin, would seem to be, as per International Convention on Road Traffic Regulations. Now, to my knowledge of those, which I won't swear absolutely correct, but lighting up time is half an hour after sundown. So as soon as the sun sets, you've got half an hour, and thereafter headlights are mandatory.
Okay.
Did you know that on your road car you have to have your headlights on after half an hour after sundown?
That's half an hour of fun, isn't it?
Well, no, you'll be surprised how light it is, even beyond half an hour after the sun goes down.
Yes, it's that thing you lose, isn't it, when you move down to the Mediterranean and point south, where you get no dusk at all. The lights go out when they go out.
Don't ask me, I never move out of Northamptonshire.
Well, even in South Northamptonshire, it stays a little. At the moment, though, I wonder whether Bob Berridge would have an argument for that one. Is it when the sun goes behind the grandstand, or when it actually goes behind the hill behind the grandstand?
Do you want me to look up when official sundown is today?
Whilst Paul goes into that, the race leading car is into the pit lane. So car number 4 has pitted in the Strata 21 Mosler.
I'm in the MJC pit with Keith. It's a long way to go. You're saying that you're having a few problems, but you're kind of still going. It's a long way to go.
We're still going a long way to go. We've got a problem with the seat at the moment. The seat seems to be moving on the runners. We're hoping it wasn't clicked in right. And also we've got a couple of penalties, but it's a long way to go.
Is this that going on? What's it like out there from what you're hearing from the driver? I know you haven't been out yet.
I don't know. We've got a pit lane speed limit after serving a penalty for overtaking under yellow, so until I get out there, it's going to be tough. I'm going to be on full tanks, so just have to go for it, and I'm going to get ready now because it looks like I've got my new tyres getting ready, so fingers crossed.
We'll talk to you later. Cheers. That's you guys.
I think an 83 and 84 have both, I think, gone in for stops. They haven't come around.
They have, but actually the car that's been leading all the way, Robin, the 81 set, Alex Osborne at the wheel, still hasn't pitted, would you believe? After 46 laps, well, not for him, 42 laps for him, of racing in almost 2 hours. That is quite some stint, isn't it?
Yeah, he's going to need a rub down with a damp towel at the end of this one.
He really is. So, up into 4th position now has come the Roll Centre Ginetta G55 with Michael Simpson at the wheel, car number 30, and that is after that problem we heard about earlier on, beginning to really get the hammer down and start to put together some good lap times. Likewise, as if by stealth, the number 3, the Top Cats Mosler, suspect that is Freddie Hetherington at the wheel of that one now, has come up into 5th position. The Top Cats number 27, Marcos, and that would be Emily Fletcher, who is now driving in the number 27 car. She has piloted that one up into 6th position, so that means that the RGM Motorsport Nissan has fed back out into 7th place with Martinborough behind the wheel. And actually going back to Paul's point earlier on about maybe this second stint being slightly shorter, of course the other element is that Alex Buncombe is a very experienced professional racing driver.
We've just spoken to Keith Robinson. I'm now with Wick Gamsky. You started the race, Keith's teammate. It's pretty hot out there. How did it go? What was the stint like?
It's just really hot. It was very hot, and after about the 45 minutes I started to get a bit tired. The car is running good. Everyone's happy. Shame about Phil's had a couple of penalties, but I'm sure we can buy him back. But I think the seat is starting to move, the seat is coming loose, so that is an issue. But the stint was fine. Yeah, it's just hard work. It's just so hot.
Last year the weather was very, very different. I mean, you would think that these are the conditions that drivers want, but is it a bit too hot out there?
No, I don't think the drivers want it this hot. I don't think anybody expected October to be this hot. A bit cooler. It's getting cooler now, which is nice. Yeah.
What will it do? Will it mean that there's a slight change of strategy, running shorter stints, or are you going to stick to the game plan and do what you would have done anyway?
No, there will be shorter stints, I imagine. I don't think the double stints will be so easily done. So we just have to see how it pans out.
We're not even 2 hours in yet. Yeah, it's a long way to go. But you think you can, with the chance still this year, there's a long way to go.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Sean McInerney's car is probably the biggest rival out there. And I think we've got some good drivers, and if the car stays together, it should be good.
That sounds like a very confident Wick Gamsky there. Back to you guys.
No one needs to learn the car. They're just getting in and going, and that's great. So, yeah, I just said to Javi when before he went out, I just say, take it really gently, because if you push the tyres hard, you'll do a few quick laps and then you'll drop right off with the heat. and as we're going to double stint tyres, maybe even treble stint them, we'll see, you just have to look after them. And by looking after the tyres and looking after the cars, we're not pushing too hard. You know, we look forward to 4:30 tomorrow afternoon, not now. Now's not important, then's important. The last lap's important. We want to lead the last lap. Don't care what happens now. It's nice to be leading, but it's not important, because there are 2 or 3 or 4 cars that can easily catch us up through the night. So it's nice to lead, but it's not really relevant at this stage.
It's a very different mindset, isn't it, from the sprint driving mentality, where you just get in that car, you drive it as quick as you can on every corner. With this, sometimes your target times are to slow down the car and nurse the gearbox and nurse the brakes and nurse the tyres.
You're absolutely right. If I was trying to go quicker, I would use second 3 times on the lap, but I'm not using second at all, which inevitably means the engine picks up a little more slowly, so you lose some time. But to be honest, it's very little. But each gear change you save is something like 2,500 gear changes over the 24. So by not using second 3 times, I'm saving something like 7,500 gear changes. So we look after the gearbox and everything. So it's very important that. And to lose a few tenths a lap, and it's irrelevant. So yeah, it's very much about being smooth and being kind to the car, taking no risks with traffic. The reason those 2 got penalties was because when I went up after the restart, we went up to Maggots, and there were green flags waving with yellow lights flashing at the same time, and I thought, that's not right. But I chose...
Okay, we're back with the team that we saw before the coverage started. Right, in pit stops. You haven't really had a chance to do many of those yet. Tell us about what's happened so far, Tom.
Well, we've had two incidents. Alan was out first and got hit from behind and had to come in and had a minor piece of damage that we had to come in, get repaired. And then when I went out second time, we're still not quite sure what happened, but I had no ABS and no power steering at stall, and went straight on and left the nice big trail of rubber, stopped 10 yards short of the Armco, a bit shaken, but they pulled me out, came back, but the main drive belt is off. And whether that was cause or effect, we're not sure yet. We're still working on it, but certainly lots of power steering, lots of ABS.
That sounds like a pretty hairy moment. What corner were you at? Right on the circuit?
Stowe. Yeah, it's just only the quickest corner. Admittedly, on my out lap, I wasn't going flat out, so I was probably only doing 200k or so, but plenty.
Well, how disappointing is this? This early in the race to have this problem.
Well, devastating, because the car's been immensely reliable all year. We've done a load of 2 and 3 hour races in it. It hasn't missed a beat. And obviously, to me, 2 major incidents in the first hour and a half is devastating, really. You can hear the engines overheating and all that now. So we've got the catalogue of problems, I'm afraid.
So I guess with the best will in the world, if you can get back up, there's still something to play for, hopefully.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, we're not going to be in contention for any honours today. That's all history now. But obviously, we want to get out and do the best job we can. And as soon as the guys tell the car's ready, we'll be back in it.
Sure. Well, thanks for talking to us, Tom. Appreciate it. Back to the racing, guys.
Compared to the beginning of the race, the length of the race. I forgot what I was going to say, but yeah, we'll just keep plugging away nice and gently, and hope that the car will make it and we'll all make it and keep out of trouble.
Appreciate your time, Callum. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Thanks very much, Callum Lockie, the former British GT champion. Speaking, I think, an awful lot of sense.
He certainly was. Thank you very much, Chris. The ARC Bratislava car's back in, so I don't know whether it's maybe been able or not to have the noise battling that needed. We've also unfortunately got some bad news. Another retirement. The GT Classics Porsche 993, the Peter Fairbairn car number 58, is out as well. So we've now got 2 retirements, cars 51 and 58 from the race. We are rapidly approaching 2 hours into the race, so it's coming up at 6:30. Paul?
Yeah, we've got a very good race going on as well now, because when the leader, the Strata Mosler number 4, made its pit stop a few moments ago, it didn't actually lose the lead. Now that's always a good sign. If you can make your pit stop without losing the lead, well, that's happened. But it's given us a very good battle for the lead, because first to second is now separated by just 12 seconds. Oh, it's gone up 14 seconds. It was 12 seconds. And then second to third as the Eclipse Ferrari closes in on the Aquila, or tries to.
I'm with Michael McInerney. We've just been chatting to Rick Gamsky. He thinks you're his biggest rival for this overall race, for the overall honours. Would you agree with that?
Well, hopefully we're the biggest threat. I mean, obviously we did a great job last year, so we know the Ferrari can win the race. So hopefully if we can beat that car, we can win the race. So we'll see what happens.
And we spoke to Sean on the grid. You were in the car. It looked like a pretty straightforward start to the race. How tough was it out there then?
No, it was hot. I mean, the start was nice and clean. Everyone behaved themselves. We all got away cleanly, so that was good. Then we got into a bit of order, but it's hot. It was very hot at the start, but no dramas so far.
It's a long race. Now, it's cooling down. I mean, in terms of stints, is it very much a case of preserving yourself as well as preserving the car, or is it kind of flat out?
I think as we go into the night, it's not going to be so bad. I think, again, it's going to be hot tomorrow. So I think during the day, it's about as much as looking after the tyres, looking after the drivers. It's going to be very warm. But the car is a good car in these conditions, so hopefully we'll be there.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for talking to us. We'll no doubt speak a few more times in the next 22 hours.
Thank you very much.
Back to the racing.
And they have got a very long 3 miles to go.
Yeah, I mean, he was almost going to go in and he changed his mind. I mean, you said he was going in, and then having got himself lined up to go into the pit lane, he stayed to the left and didn't peel off, and very nearly caught somebody as he apexed at Woodcote. So, strange decision there from Phil Keane, and somebody with his experience shouldn't kind of be changing his mind a bit like that.
Oh,
he needs to be more decisive.
Sorry, he's crawling, isn't he? He's come down through Beckett's, and that's about the speed I push the barrow up and down my garden path.
Show off.
That is, well, it's a yellow.
It's not a slope, is it?
No, it's a yellow barrow. It's all right. But I tell you what, it's interesting, isn't it? I love this, the whole business of 24-hour racing. Some of these cars that were in sort of deep muck, round about the hour mark, and up and down, and penalties and all this kind of thing. The Aquila was right up there in second place. It now looks as though it's going to suffer again. Wick Gamsky's car that's been in and out, I think he's had 3 stops, penalties all over the place, has now percolated back up to 7th place. But I just saw the RJN Motorsport, number 31, going by. It was about 2 laps ago, the Nissan. And it was trying to hustle its way past 3 or 4 cars. It actually sideswiped one of them coming round the exit of Aintree, put itself completely off the track onto the rubbish. And if all these drivers have complained about picking up stuff, I think a lot of it is off track, not on. And it very nearly ended its own race. And it's almost, I was thinking, it's like a first corner crash after the start. I think people sometimes get in for their stints, and it's like they're starting all over again. I think, no, don't do that.
It's a good point, isn't it? But what I think is going to be more interesting now is that Phil Keenan, number 2 Ferrari, is now released to chase down the race-leading Mosler. So this could be a real battle, because I suspect that Phil Keenan was being slightly delayed by the fact the Aquila is very rapid in a straight line. He just couldn't pry his way through. Well, now he has got a reasonably clear track on that last lap. He does, in fact, close in on Javier Morcillo in the Mosler. Unfortunately, it's only by 0.2 of a second, so the gap is 16.3 seconds between first and second. Now, will we see the Aquila peel into the pit lane on this occasion? Suspect we probably might. The team managers of cars 78 and 48 have been summoned to race control. So that's the Vista Labels BMW M3 and car 78, the Sam's Boys Seat Toledo. Up into 11th position now as a result of not having pitched in is Alex Osborne in his Seat, car number 81. So he has done now exactly a 2-hour stint. So as we hit the 2-hour mark, just to run down the classification of the top 20 by number and team name, then the rest of them by number. So in the lead of the race is car number 4, and that is the Strata 21 Mosler, and they have completed 50 laps and a 16.350 seconds clear of the car in second place, which is car number 2, the Eclipse Ferrari 430. Third place is car number 6, and into the pit lane it is the Aquila. In fourth position is car number 30, the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta G55. Fifth place is car number 3, the Top Cats Racing Mosler. Sixth place is 27, the Top Cats Racing Marcos. Seventh place is car number 1, the MJC Witt-Gamsky Ferrari. Eighth place is number 31, the RGN Motorsport Nissan, and it's the Roll Centre Racing G55 in fourth, by the way, that leads Class 2. Ninth position and Class 3 is headed up by car 49, Nicholas Me Racing Aston Martin, and then rounding out the top 10 is 61, the Scuderia Vittoria Ginetta G50. 11th place is number 81 and leading Class 4, the Alex Osborne Seat. 12th place is 66, the Dorset Sports Porsche 996. In 13th place is car number 46, the Motion Sport Lotus Elise. 14th place is number 68, the Intersports BMW. In 15th place is car 70, the McLeod Holden Astra. In 16th place is car 88, and that is the Mardi Gras Honda Integra. 17th place is number 57, the Marcus International Lotus Evora. 18th place is number 65, the Sub-Zero Wolf Seat Leon. 19th place is car 79, that's the Synchro Honda Jazz, and then rounding out top 20 is car 83, the CTR Lotus Lease. 21st position is car 63, 22nd is 89, 23rd is 99, 24th is 91, 25th is 82, 26th is 52, 27th is 93, 28th is 84, 29th is 62, 30th is 75, 31st is 94, 32nd is 90, 33rd is 80, 34th is 86, 35th is 48, 36th is 87, 37th is car 59, 38th is number 92, 39th is 85, and then rounding out the top 40 is the early front runner, car number 5, the RC Bratislava Porsche. 41st position is car number 7, 42nd is car 56, 43rd is car 95, 44th is car 78, 45th position is car number 8, 46th is 77, 47 is number 53, 48th is car 64, 49th is car 50, 50th position is car 54, 51st position is car 51, 52nd on the time screen but out of the race is car 58, 53rd is car 47, 54th is car 28, 55th is car 55, 56th is car 45, 57th is car 60, and then 58th, but out of the race as well, is car 51. So that is how things stand after 2 hours, and the battle at the head of the field is just going out ever so slightly as the Mosler moves away from Phil Keane and the Ferrari.
And into the pits, as you were going through that rundown, not only the Aquila, as we mentioned, Gareth Evans bringing the car in, having lost something over a minute by going round slowly, so that's already the penalty that he's paid, a minute for being slow round the lap. But we've also had in the number 3, the Top Cats Mosler, which I think, who did we have in that? It started off being...
it was Henry Fletcher first,
Henry Fletcher in first. He handed over to Hetherington, wasn't it, as the second driver. So that Freddie Hetherington was the second driver, and so that car in the pits out of 4th place. Also coming into the pits now, we have the Seat Leon out of class 4, number 81, which is over the page. That was started by Alex Osborne and to be handed over to Guy Parr, and that'll be for the first pit stop for that car on its 48th lap. So the first pit stop at 48 laps, just over 2 hours into the race, 18:33, 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Still 2 cars in the top 20 in class 4, 88 and 79 that have yet to stop. 18th and 19th overall. One of those is the Mardi Gras Motorsport Honda Integra. Richard Mines on board that one. He goes through again. He hasn't come in. And the other is the number 79. That's one of the Synchro Motorsport cars, and that's Dave Allen on board. That's a Honda Jazz Type R. So those two are on long runs. They're in the top 20 and have yet to stop.
News from Atlanta after 2 hours. If you're interested in the Petit Le Mans International Le Mans Series or Intercontinental Le Mans Cup, Nicolas Lapierre is currently leading over there. As I said, they run a long time behind safety cars, but they're running as proper racing at the moment. He's just taken the lead back from the Audi number 1, which Timo Bernhardt and Marcel Fessler have been sharing. That led the race for some time. Both the number 2 Audi R18, Alan McNish and Tom Christensen's car, and also the number 7 Peugeot 908 have had delays along the way and are laps behind the leader already. So at the moment it's looking like a battle between the Orica Peugeot, which of course had a good race at Sebring, the Audi, number 1 Audi, and then the number 8 Peugeot of Frank Montani and crew, which are currently in third place. All those cars on the same lap, and the Rebellion Lola is not far off the same lap as well. So that's a quick update from Road Atlanta Petit Le Mans race. Meanwhile, back here at Silverstone, we've had just over 2 hours of the 24 hours here, so still a long way to go. Just 20 seconds separating the Strata Mosler, which, as I say, is still going very well indeed and lapping quicker than anybody else on the circuit, and that includes some of the faster cars which were playing catch-up from the number 2 Eclipse Ferrari, which is second, and that now, those two now have some 2 laps of a gap back to the next Top Cats car, which is the Marcos Mantis, which was driven by Jamie Orton, Neil Huggins. It was Neil Huggins who started, as I recall, and they, as I say, going well, but have dropped down 2 laps behind, and if those behind continue to go more quickly, as they've started off doing, then that will be a short-lived position in third place for the Class B or the Class 2 Top Cats Marcos.
And Paul, an update from the pits. I'm stood right next to Gareth Evans, the Aquila. He's up on the jacks. Gareth, that's a very frustrating stint for you. Just tell me what you've been telling me about having to drive around on half throttle, basically.
Yeah, it's some heat-related electronic problem, we think, and as soon as you get the revs up, the engine cuts completely, so you don't have to bump start and recycle the engine. So that's what we've been doing. So I discovered that if we went half throttle and with really short shifting, I could basically roll around, which is what we've been doing for the last stint, because it started at the end of Bob's last stint. So, and then it got really quite sick, so I just came in very slowly, where the engine didn't sound great, seemed like a big misfire. So they've had it up on the jacks. I'm not quite sure they've done, and John's going to go out and we'll see. But it looks like we can't really use much throttle, basically, but it will roll round, okay.
And you had a really, just terribly frustrating sort of in-lap, because it was the whole way around that you were struggling. You nearly came in and then you stayed out in the end.
I did, because we were recycling the engine, I thought it was going to restart, and I was right at the end of the pit lane. I thought it was going to restart, and it didn't. But it just got round, it limped round. So, yeah, I thought I might stop in the pit lane, actually, but it didn't. So, yeah. So we'll see how John's gone out now, so we'll see how it gets on.
All right, bad luck, and thanks for your time. Cheers, Gareth.
Cheers,
thanks very much. Yeah, John Martin has just been released, so he's at the end of the pit lane, and we'll see if they've cured the problem, but it's been one which has gone on for a while now.
Yeah, very disappointing there for the Aquila. Thanks very much, Chris, for talking to Gareth Evans, although Paul, I have to say that his reasoning for staying out that extra lap wasn't altogether convincing, really.
It's so difficult, isn't it? I mean, you're worrying about the car, you're trying to get it to start, and it suddenly fires up, and you think, yeah, okay, we're going to go. I won't go in the pits. Oh, God, it's still going. And so, it's that kind of split-second decision. Silverstone isn't actually that far around, so, it is possible to do what he has done, and as I say, he lost a little bit over a minute doing that slow lap. There are other circuits on the 24-hour trail where you wouldn't go round because it's just too far around. Obviously thinking about going around the Nordschleife or going around the Nürburgring for 14 miles, you just wouldn't make it. So very often by coming in, if it's inevitable you're going to have to come into the pits anyway, then you might as well just damn well come in. And that you're going to lose the time in the pits anyway, and that's negligible compared to the time you lose going around the track slowly, or running the risk of not making it back, of course, which is much worse. Leader in, and this is a little bit early to my way of thinking.
And we've got the safety car. I think that's what it could be, Paul. Sorry to cut across you.
That's fine.
But yes, the safety car is out, and that's exactly what Callum Lockie said, didn't he? He said as soon as the safety car comes out, we're going to be in to top up with 25 litres of fuel. So I'm just looking now on our monitor to see what could have caused the safety car to be scrambled. Is there anything in your eye line, Robin, that may have caused this?
No, absolutely nothing. I'm watching the body language of the marshals. No, I couldn't possibly second guess it. The likelihood is, at the rate of knots that we've seen carcasses being dragged back from the far end, that it's somewhere down around Stowe Club. But frankly, it could just as easily be in the stadium bit out of our sight. But no, nothing that I can see here. Well, I just would like to, just drawing attention to those at the top of things that again are percolating up the order. Witt-Gamsky had worked that Ferrari and rot him, but the Witt-Gamsky car, rather, had worked his way back up into third behind the McInerney car. But he's now come into the pits again. Oh, that car's now back into the pits again.
Well, this is quite interesting. We're seeing a lot of cars peeling in as soon as the safety car has been scrambled, very much just taking the view, as as Callum Lockie was saying, what I'm going to do is jump in and get those extra 25 litres of fuel aboard as quickly as I can. We've got a car with its warning lights flashing at the very turning into Copse. Now, I don't know whether that is the safety car waiting to pick up the leader, because I can't quite see from this distance, or whether it's the car that's stranded. If it's the car that's stranded, there's no question it's brought out the safety car. And it is a car that's stranded, in fact, just looking at the monitor. So it's a car just on the turn into Copse that has caused the safety car to come out.
That's interesting, because that's quite confusing, isn't it? Because that is one of the cases where the safety car does pick them up, because it has that long view as they come through Vale. In fact, I could see the safety car on the move now, so I can understand the confusion there.
Yeah, so
what I'm interested in, I must just throw this in before it all changes, but keep your eyes out for number 79, please. Synchro Motors, still the only one in the leading order, certainly on the front page, as it were, up in the top 20, that has not come in. Surely, wouldn't common sense dictate that under yellows, wouldn't you come in if it were you?
Dave Allen, if nothing else, is made of very strong stuff, isn't he?
Yes, absolutely. But, if your strategy is to have as long a first stint as possible, and this is...
It all depends how long the safety car is going to stay out for. If it's a short safety car period and you've got your strategy, it can be just as good for you to stay out, because you can pick up places behind the safety car, depending how the safety car falls, and sometimes it can be the best thing to do. So I wouldn't call it necessarily as being a mistake. I think that the trick is to be able to adapt your strategy. If you're a bit further down as well, although that car does actually lead its class, doesn't it, a Synchro Motors car? I was going to say, if you're a bit further down in the overall leader, then very often it all pans out in the end and doesn't make any difference. You dash in now, you take on 25 litres, but you lose a minute whilst you're doing your because your pit stop has to take a minute and a half. That's part of the regulation. Even if the safety car is out, you still have to spend a minute and a half in the pits.
And 3 hours is the maximum they're allowed to stay out, isn't it?
A single driver can only do 3 hours of driving, that's right. Although I did notice that they've put a slight extra bit in the regulations this year, because time spent stationary in front of the pit is deducted from your 3 hours, which is going to be a tricky one for them to calculate, because the timekeepers don't actually calculate the time spent stationary in front of the pit. But that's where the regulations have kind of put something in which is not then calculated by the timekeepers.
Over the half dozen years that we've done this race, I think this may be one of the longest first stints we've seen.
I think you could well be right, Robin. We've got a couple more peeling into the pit lane now. I can also hear the noises of tools being dropped on the floor, which would suggest that Chris has an update for us.
Yeah, drop not thrown. This is a good sign, isn't it? Just news on the number 4 Mosler. Now, smart thinking this. You remember that Callum told us there was a bit of a fuel pickup issue. Well, because the safety car's out, they're sort drivers. They've come in, as you described. They also took the car into the garage, got the back off, and had a little investigate to see if they could nail the problem. And because they have extra time, effectively, in which to be able to make the pit stop, because everybody else is trundling around behind the safety car, that's what they've done. So a driver change, but also a longer pit stop than they could have done, because they wanted to take the opportunity to check out the car and probably this fuel pickup problem, and they've swapped drivers. So Javier Morcillo has now made way to Manuel Zintrano. And as for last year's winners, well, Keith Robinson has now got into the car. They pitted at pretty much the same time. In fact, he's got back out now, so Keith had got into the car, but it looks like there's a bit of a delay with this one as well. So they're having a look inside the cockpit. The team gathered around. The safety car, of course, helping them out, but they are losing time and places all the while. So the team which won their first ever 24-hour race last year, having decided to enter it just a few days before the event took place. We've got 1 or 2 dramas here. The boys are working at the back of the seat. I think there's an issue the seat belts by the looks of it. So it's the seat belts. Keith got in, he got back out, and there's an issue with the seat belts at the back of the car, which they're all trying to adjust now frantically. So this is a delay for two of the front runners here. And
the car that has gone off, by my reckoning, is number 31. It's Jan Marlborough in the RGM Motorsport Nissan, who is in trouble.
Yeah, remember that Robin described he having a half moment at the Loop or at Aintree, I think it was, earlier on. So possibly Jan still a little bit too inexperienced for this kind of thing. I mean, not that he's too inexperienced for the race. He wouldn't have entered if he was too experienced for the race. But
enthusiastic,
his inexperience in long-distance racing, whereas you can just press Control, Alt, Delete and start again if you're on your PlayStation. You can't really do that if you're in a 24-hour race. But he'll be learning. That will go into his memory bank, I hope. And no, an interesting point. If it is him.
Well, if Brian Jones was here, of course, he'd be an avid player of PlayStation 3 games and gaming. I'm sure that he'd be correcting us on that.
He can barely put a coin in a jukebox.
I'm sure I'll get we'll both now, Robin, get very cheeky texts off the basis of those comments.
I won't read mine. But the course car is coming around Aintree now, and once again it's all the little ducklings lined up behind, and really high up that queue is the dirty stop-out, number 79, Synchro Motors, up into 16th place overall. He's 5th in the queue behind the pace car at the moment. Pace car lights, I think, have gone out. Oh, that happened just as they ran under the bridge. So I think, yes, I'm almost certain the lights gone out. They should be go this lap.
Yes, they are. The safety car is peeling in on this lap. And so we are about to get the action back underway with 21 hours and 42 and a half minutes left in this race. The second safety car period is at an end, and we have our top 21 has got all of them except for the MJC Ferrari of Whit Gamsky and the rest that we heard about that was in trouble in the pit lane from Chris Hartley. Everybody else is on track and ready to get underway. And this time the field, perhaps unsurprisingly, being a little bit more circumspect about their restarts, making sure they don't go past anybody before they get to the start and finish line. So a little bit more of a restrained getaway as still the field are streaming through to get back into the action. But it's now Phil Keane in car number 2 who is leading the way from second place, the Strata 21 Moser, and the gap between them is says 3 minutes and 39 seconds. Not sure that is quite right. So it is car number 2 that now leads. It's car 4 in second. In third place is car number 30, and that is the car leading class 2, the Rolls Centre Racing Genesis G55. Paul.
If you're listening around the circuit, and I'm sure most of you are, even though some of you will be listening on the stream, I've just had a note through from the public address. The public address is between now and 7:30 going to have the volume reduced, unless you're in one of the grandstands around the start-finish area. They're going to turn the volume on the public address down, so you'll need to get your pocket radio out and tune it into 87.7 FM. And if you haven't got your pocket radio, then you should have brought one with you.
Well, I think also if you can get your car, or maybe find somebody's car and park it near the edge of the circuit, just get the car radio on, because there's good reception.
Yeah, yes, but you can't see the cars as well, can you?
No, not sit in the car, just...
just open the doors and turn the volume right
absolutely.
up. Yeah, absolutely.
Share it a little.
Yeah, but then that will annoy the neighbours as well.
Oh.
Anyway, and can you turn your television set down a little bit, please, Robin?
Turn it down?
You've got a volume on.
Is it down? I didn't know it had a...
It's got a volume switch, because we can hear it coming back through your microphone.
He's not watching the X Factor again, is he?
No, but...
he is actually, yeah.
Or Strictly, is he watching Strictly?
I've never watched
He wants to be on it, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You can see Robin on there.
I would do, but the thing is... no. Oh, well, never mind. It hasn't got a volume thing on it, so never mind.
You do have a bit of the Robbie Savage about you, though, Robin, in
indeed.
terms of the flowing blonde hair.
Indeed, and I tell you what, I can turn a bit of a caper, too. But out there where things are going around in circles, I'm still fascinated by this. You'll have to forgive me, I get fascinated by things. The Synchro Motors, number 79 there. It's a good performance, 16th, leading its class. And what's he done? 2 hours, 21 minutes. That's a long old trip. And lovely flame outs now. It's nice for the bigger cars. That's one of the things you get at twilight. You can start to see the flame outs, and it does look highly spectacular.
MJC Ferrari update. It wasn't the seat belts, or they were fiddling around with them. It was the seat. The seat came loose. So they did well to get it turned around as quickly as they did, to be honest. So Keith Robinson went back out, and that was the issue for the car. I think I'm right in saying I read they didn't really have any issues at all on the way to victory last year. With the change of wiper blade, put a bit of oil in, and other than that, it was trouble-free. So that's the first glitch really they've had, but it sort of helped them out that it happened during the safety car period.
Very quick question for you, Chris. Who's now at the wheel of the Strauss 21 Mosler?
Right, yes, that went back out. I suspect it's Mike again, but I'll go and check for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Weren't we told it was Manuel Cintrano? I made a note because I'm sure Chris was talking to someone and told us that Cintrano got back into it.
Yes, hang on. Yes, Javier got it out, and yeah, Manuel Cintrano did get in to the number 4 car. But do you want to know who's in the Eclipse car as well, didn't you?
That would be that's Phil Keane, is it still?
No, I think that might have changed. I'll go and check, but I think that went back out with the driver change. I think that's Mike Kearney, and yes, in the 4 car, the Strata 21 car, Manuel Cintrano got in. He got in before they took it into the garage. They did a normal stop, then took it into the garage to check out this issue, and then went back out. So it is Manuel in now. So the only driver that's not been in that car is Paul White.
And my little number 79 Synchro is in. The Seat is in after 2.5 hours.
It's more exercise than I've done all year that's been done there, I think, by the number 79 driver. So, yes, Dave Allen into the pit lane. And so that, unfortunately, Robin, as well, is going to slip him out of the lead of Class 4. Although such a lengthy stint, it's going to keep him very much in the mix. We'll see whether he feeds back in to the top 20. The drivers actually in Class 4 that have pitted in. It's the number 83 car, which is leading the way. That is the CTR Lotus Elise, and they are on to driver number 2. And so that is Jeremy Webb, who is now the pilot of the car that leads Class 4. And they always go well here, the Britcar 24 Hours CTR squad.
Ben, I've got an update from the pits. He's supposed to be having a break and having a rest, but I found Brian, and Brian's got a page full of notes. Brian.
Well, I've been lurking in the early numbers on the pits, and it seemed to me a good idea. Because I got a wonderful quote from Hugh Chamberlain. And let's face it, Chamberlain knows more about 24-hour races than most people. And he said the quality of the team is measured by the ability of the boys to get the car back out after things have gone wrong. Well, that's roughly what he said, but I had to clean it up a bit. What else have I got for you? I had a long chat with James Kay about car number 70, which was a late entry. And this is what I can only describe as the Aussie team. And they have had an absolute nightmare. But remember this, they've come thousands of miles to be here, and despite having some difficulty with authority over whether they were going to go out because James hadn't qualified, he's had 36 years of racing, he's done umpteen 24s. I mean, he knows this place like the back of his hand, and he's driven a Group Group 1 car on the Grand Prix circuit. So, in the end, sanity prevailed. And I have to tell you, it is obvious to me that the club really does want people to race, and therefore they don't try and put barriers in their way. And I think that's important. Let me tell you that Team Caramba, you may not have seen much of them, but I think they may have done 1 or 2 laps before they came in. And Team Caramba are a great bunch of guys, and they really want to be able to race. There's 1 South African, Peter Fairbairn, and 3 Brits, I think, and it takes 2 hours to change an engine. Now, if you go by the book, you may not be allowed to change an engine, but they've consulted the stewards, and the stewards have said if they can get the engine and change it, they will be allowed to race. The question is, can they get the engine? There is an engine, but he wants quite a lot of money for it, so a bit of negotiating to go there, and before we know whether they're going to be back out later on. And number 59, that was the Aston. They had a data logger problem here, and the trouble was this brand new data logger, which they installed on the grid right at the very beginning. We're about to be run over. That failed. Cost them 700 quid, and it failed. So the Aston was out for an hour after they replaced it with Jamie Wall at the wheel. Then Mike Brown was out. The safety stopped the car coming into the pits. I think this is it now. And it would only have been allowed to take on 25 litres. Well, it's not enough. So they left it out there. It came in, and now Paul Cripps is ready to go out. So I hope it helps.
Thank you, Brian. I've never known any. This is the first Britcar 24-hour I've done, as you know. But Brian, are there normally this many issues at the start of the race? We must have had 20 odd cars with problems in the first hour or so.
Yes, I know, but it's not about problems; it's about solutions. Now, I mean, isn't that a trite expression?
But it's true.
To be honest, it's got to be. And you've got a lot of experience in this pit lane about 24-hour racing, so they don't give in easily. I mean, even to the lengths that number 58 is going, and they're still negotiating and trying to do a deal.
Well, for the team and the mechanics, it's about getting to the finish. There's pride there, isn't there?
Yeah, Hugh is absolutely right. Whatever else happens, these guys are going to grow in experience, and it's going to enable them. And let's face it, there are plenty of people in this pit lane who've done loads of racing and endurance racing to boot. So there's a lot of experience here. And of course there are a lot of youngsters who are learning a vital lesson in being brought into the experience at the Britcar 24. So, you know, there are a lot of things going on. And I hope there are a lot of people enjoying it. They've probably gone off for dinner now, have they?
We've got quite a lot
of 5 to 7.
And we've got quite a lot of people down here still watching, Brian, quite happily.
Paul said there's a lot of people still watching. No problem. They're all listening on the radios now as well.
And don't forget, we've got a very crowded campsite over there, so they can take a snooze and then come back.
Well, they can try. They can try. Brian, we'll see.
I'm sure you're not allowed a snooze, though.
Probably not.
Back on duty at 10:30, according to this, when I take over from Ben. Then.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Peter. Thank you, Brian. Good to see you, Ben. Back to you.
Thank you for the update there from Brian Jones. Whilst Brian has been talking, the news is that John Martin has set the fastest lap of the race with a 2 minutes 5.922. The wheel of the Aquila. It's now in 10th position. He's right on the tail, though, of Keith Robinson, who's taken over the number 1 MJC Ferrari, and Robinson has, on the previous lap, done that car's best lap of the race. So we're suddenly, Paul, seeing a rapid acceleration in the pace.
Well, yes, and just prior to that fastest lap, we had a lap that was very close to it by Whit Gamsky. Whit's done another lap in the 2 minutes, and that's a quicker one still from John Martin on that last one, isn't it? Because his previous fastest lap, let me just make a note, because I made the note before, 2 minutes 7.288. He's now going around in 2 minutes 5.922. So not only a new lap record, but pulverising the old one. And it's that kind of time of night, isn't it? The visibility is still good enough, but the air is getting a bit cooler, and that's enabling the cars to be driven that much more quickly.
As they go past me, number 6 is now ahead of number 1.
Okay, that's good to know. So he's made up now into 9th place, and Whit Gamsky is not hanging around either in number 1, is he? Except it's Keith Robinson in number 1. Keith Robinson in number 1 at the moment, but they are 3 laps behind the race leader. 3 and a bit laps behind the race leader, but that is not something that they're not going to be able to call back. I mean, over the length of the race, 3 laps is not an awful long time. So, you know, we'll stay up all night, we'll see how it goes, we'll see where they are in the morning, but I don't think this is over just because, you know, we've got the Ferrari and the Mosler out there at the front. Certainly don't write off either the Aquila, if it can be reliable, as always, or any of the other cars in the top 10, really. I mean, they're all in with a shout there, and as I say, particularly the pace that the Aquila is exhibiting. If it can stay reliable, those 3 laps, it can pull back very easily indeed.
Now, I don't want to disparage John Martin in any way, because he is a very, very quick driver, but his background is predominantly in single-seater racing. And if there was a question mark about John for this weekend, it would be driving that car sympathetically at a pace that is a couple of seconds away from the pace that John would normally run at, which is possibly going to be the challenge for that Aquila. But the lap time he sets at the first lap of the race clearly shows that whatever issues they had have been resolved. So it's still leading the way. Car number 2, the Ferrari 430, the Eclipse car, which has completed 61 laps. In second place is car number 4, the Strauss 21 Mosler, with Manuel Centrano at the wheel. In third place is number 30, the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta G55. In fourth place is 27, the Top Cats Racing Marcos Mantis. Ahead of in 5th place, car number 3, the Top Class Racing Mosler. Then we've got in 6th place the leading Class 3 car, number 49, the Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin. And then in 7th place is number 66, and that is the Dorset Sports Porsche. In 8th place, number 61, the Scuderia Vittoria Ginetta G50. And then in 9th place now it is number 6, the Aquila, with John Martin at wheel. And then in 10th place is car number 1, and that is the MJC Ferrari, with Keith Robinson doing what he does best, which is pedal that car very rapidly. And the sun just coming down now, and this, Robin, really is the magical time for me in a 24-hour race. Is just as the sun begins to dip, the headlights come on, and you just know you're set for a full night of action as the cars pound into the night.
Yes, and going on previous experience, it is quite extraordinary, and very much as Paul was just saying. I think almost every year when we've had somebody around about maybe the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night stage that goes into the night with a sort of 6-lap lead, invariably by around 4 in the morning something major has happened and they're simply not around anymore. They're sort of 7th and 8th. So these races can change radically, and there's something about the lack of light, something about darkness. Things happen.
They really do. The first year I did this back in 2008, I remember leaving the circuit around about midnight to go and do the dreaded S word for 5 hours. And when I woke up slightly refreshed, came back at 6 in the morning, and the race had completely turned on its head.
Yeah.
And the cars that had all been leading when I went to sleep came back there out of the race, or had lost 30 odd laps due to various misfortunes. We do still have a good number of cars in the pits. Particularly concerning for me now is the John Thorne car, the Thorny Motorsport number 60 car, because we lost that very early in the race, and that's not emerged. Likewise, the Sagiaris, which is having the gearbox change, is also yet to emerge. As Brian would say, it'd be super if they can negotiate an engine for the Peter Fairbairn GT Classics Porsche 993, although, ladies and gentlemen, if there is anybody here with a Porsche 993 and they'd like to donate the engine to Peter Fairbairn, then please present yourself in the garage, and donations gladly accepted. And well, we have precedent for that amongst drivers today, because Steve Licorice at Brands Hatch last year in an all-wheel drive race put out a call over the public address saying, has anybody got a Mitsubishi gearbox you could lend me for the second race? Somebody duly cocked off the gearbox, which then blew on the second lap of the race.
Lordy.
Yes.
And that'll teach you to volunteer.
It's probably worth pointing out that Peter Fairbairn is a cosmetic dentist in Kensington, so there might be a deal to be done there if you've got dodgy teeth.
So you're saying that if you donate an engine, you'll leave with a smile on your face, Chris?
Well, yeah. Your other half won't, though, will they, when they find out what you've just done? Just to give you an off-track update, in the back of Garage 4C, I know we talked about this earlier, in case you didn't catch it, the Gadget Show, Channel 5's Gadget Show team are here, and they're at the back of Garage 4C, and they're simulating the race. So they're on a race simulator, not just a computer console and a TV screen. It's a proper race simulator with a race seat. The seat is bumping up and down, it's moving. They're simulating all the track conditions, and they're basically going to race the 24 hours in comparable conditions and see how many laps they get done compared to everybody else, and see as the number 1 car comes in. It looks like an unscheduled stop right behind me, so I'll find out about that in a moment. I'm going to refuel it, but that's only been out for a few laps with Keith Robinson. That's the one that had the seat problem. At the moment, you've got Jason Bradbury, the presenter, on track, as it were, behind the wheel. The issue that he's got is that he's got a crowd gathered around him, lots of camera flashes going off, and people staring at him and pointing at him, so he's got to try and focus on what he's doing. So although he's not got the physical aspects, I suppose, that the drivers have got, he's also got to try and really concentrate there and block that out. So we'll try and grab a word with Jason or Pollyanna or one of the other guys once they come off the simulator and see how they're getting on. They're also testing out some various technological aids to keep the energy flowing, not just energy drinks but other things there. So it's an interesting experiment. It'll be televised later in the year on 5, and as I say, quite a big crowd gathered around there, just something a little bit different to be offered there for the spectators. So it's number 1 car in, right in front of me.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris. He is a very short stint for that car. It's done 7 laps since Keith Robinson took it out. So
15 minutes or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, just 18, but yeah, it's very good. 21 minutes he was out there, 7 laps. So slightly short stint for that car, and also coming in at roughly the same time is the number 81 Sayat Leon, which is the one which Alex Osborne was driving, and that also, having had a long stint on its first tank full of fuel, has come in having done a very short stint. So number 81 in the pits for the second time after just 10 laps of a stint.
That seems slightly concerning, doesn't it, Paul? Because they ran for well over 2 hours there, so to come in fairly shortly,
it means there's a problem of some sort, doesn't it?
Certainly does. Just wonder about that race simulator, whether they've got safety car periods.
Yeah, they do apparently. Yeah, they do slow it down to safety car speed, and I think they've even got something to simulate oil on the track and everything. It's a very clever gimmick, gadget, not gimmick.
I might go and simulate a seagull landing on their shoulder, see what they think of that.
Is that what's happened to you?
No, but I just thought when it's my turn in the pits, I'll brighten it up for them.
It's the seat again for MJC, so the seat has come loose again. Now, obviously, you cannot drive a car at these speeds, being chucked around with all these G-forces, unless you're planted and strapped into that seat like you'd be strapped into a roller coaster. So Keith has got to back out, so that's the reason it's only done 20 odd minutes. The seats come loose again, so a real issue this is turning into them.
Yeah, very disappointing for them. A car that's also in the pit lane, and it's one that's coming to the top 10 by stealth, is the Marcus International Lotus Evora, car number 57. They've had this is their fourth pit stop. They've somehow managed to elevate themselves up into the top 10. Multinational lineup at the moment in the car. It is Jim Brodie, the American driver, so he is into the pit lane. That car now up into 10th position. John Martin's progress continuing apace. On this lap, almost certainly he's going to overhaul the 6th place car, the Dorset Sports number 66 Porsche, because he was only 5.5 seconds adrift of it as he went into the lap, but he's lapping 18 seconds a lap quicker, so he should be up into 6th position, I presume, by the end of this lap.
Well, it's a beautiful quarter moon shining down on the Buckinghamshire end of the circuit, somewhere over Copse down there, and nice to see that. Well, we had a few in the first year here, but every year the teams get better and better about illuminating the numbers on the cars and making life an awful lot easier, not just for us working, but also for all the spectators. And CTR Developments, number 83, still leading Class 4. The 66 car, that's now a class leader as well. Just try and pick that one up for you. But one of the things, gentlemen, that I don't have down here, and will be one of the things that curtails my stay in this box, is there's no light at all. So I'm by the light of the quarter moon, silvery though it be, that's all I've got. So I will stagger on until literally I can see no more, and then I will come and join you.
340 quid those illuminated numbers cost, available from Britcar Limited, and they are recommended but not mandatory. And the way they work, as far as I understand it, is that they work on a very low battery power, and they're always on, even when the car they just work on a little battery and they're always on. You just don't notice it. So they work on a very low voltage thing.
Very effective.
They are, absolutely. And let's say for 340, I don't know what the budgets of these guys are, but whilst you say lots of them have them, quite a few don't have them as well. And this is the kind of time when it becomes obvious.
The Paul Winter Porsche, it is, of course, number 66, up there into 7th place and leading its class.
Yeah, well, 340 quid, that sort of money, you're worth giving a couple for your road car, aren't you? Certainly liven up the M1.
Have you got numbers on the side of your road car?
Well, yes. Mainly points of my licence, I think. But we have got the team manager of car 91, the Prana Motorsport Ginetto G50, that has been swimming with the Sharks and therefore has been called into the race control. So the car that's in 31st position, the Ginetto G40 Prana Motorsport, into race control for them. We've also got an intermittent transponder for car number 3, which is the Top Cats Racing Mosler. So some of our lap times for that car might be slightly dubious. John Martin is on an absolute charge here. He's up into 6th position, and he's now 1.5 minutes adrift of that Top Cats Racing Mosley, but he's closing in at a rate of 4 seconds a lap, and that's based on John backing off a little bit from his 2-minute 5.9 pace to a 2-minute 11.8 on his previous lap. So John Martin is steadily working his way back up through the order, but it's still the number 2 Ferrari that has got a reasonably comfortable advantage now over the number 4 Mosler, and then in turn it's a lapse advantage for that car over the Ginetta G55, the Roll Centre Racing car. And then in 4th position now it is the Top Cats Racing Mosler. So the Top Cats cars running together, the number 3 Mosler and the 27 Marcos running together. Now he switched on that last lap, so it's now the Mosler up into 4th in car number 3, the Marcos down to 5th in car 27, and then John Martin 6th in car number 6 closing on them all the whilst in 7th place, as you've been saying, Robin, is the number 66 Dorset Sports Porsche that's owned by Paul Winter, so it's his name that appears on the timing screen, and that car into 7th position and comfortably leading now Class 3 over in 8th place, number 61 the Scuderia Vittorio Ginetta G50, 44.7 seconds the gap between them, and then 3rd place in Class 3 and 9th in the race overall was 49 Nicholas Me Racing Aston Martin. Paul.
When you were running through there, Ben, apologies if I didn't pay attention as you were running through it, but the Eclipse, the Strata Mosler is now a lap behind the race leader, so the gap for the race lead has gone up to over a lap. Remember a little while ago we were saying it had gone up to a minute, well it's gone up to 2 minutes, it's now gone over 2 minutes, and it's more than a lap now, first to second. So, you know, that's one of those little boundaries that you want to get. I mean, if the safety car comes out, it can't hurt you. You know, you're going to be a lap ahead whatever happens. So it's good news really at this stage in the race for the Eclipse Ferrari leading the way. The thing that is perhaps slightly bad news for that car is they've only got 3 drivers. Most of the others are doing it with 4, and they're going to have to run throughout the 24 hours with just the 3 drivers.
And also the challenge they've got as well is, as Chris has been saying in the pit lane, Michael McInerney doesn't really want to run in the dark, and so it's going to be Phil Keane and Sean McInerney who are going to be doing a lot of the driving throughout the night, so the pair of them will be very much looking forward to the sun coming up and Michael McInerney taking over. And yes, again a somewhat slower lap there from the start of 21 Mosler, a 2 minutes 24.081 from Manuel Cintrano. Now it could well be that Manuel is not one of the quicker drivers in that car, and therefore just running at a pace that he's comfortable with, but it does mean that he is slipping back his advantage, though. He's got a lapse advantage over the 3rd place car, number 30 car, the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta G55, and that car is some 2 minutes turn clear of the Top Cats Racing Mosler, all of which means that if John Martin stays out there and keeps improving at the rate he is, he could find himself up into 3rd position at a stretch. Not by the end of this stint, but if he double stints and the rest of them don't have any issues, then he will continue to climb up through the order. That last lap from John Martin was a 2 minutes 8.113, and the second fastest time in the top 20 came from the Roll Centre Ginetta G55 at 2 minutes 14.626.
Do we have a doctor's prognosis on the Witt-Gamsky car? I haven't seen it for ages.
No, it's still in the pits. It's got this loose seat.
Oh, is that still the seat thing? Yeah.
Well, it came in with a loose seat, having had a problem with the seat on the previous stop. So, yeah, it's not rejoined yet. I think Chrissy is down there with his super glue, trying to glue them in.
Fair enough.
He's got to do something for his money down there.
Yes, it's disappointing for them, though, isn't it? And it's often the way, Paul, because last year, as Chris was saying, that car ran essentially with no problems. They had a couple of penalties that cost them laps. They had then just general servicing, and given they converted that car only with the 11th hour to 24-hour specification, it ran superbly. And this year, all the problems that maybe they should have had last year have suddenly kicked in with a vengeance.
I tell you what, in a lot of ways, I like this race more than Le Mans, because what happens at Le Mans is everybody is so well prepared that little things don't go wrong and you get such high reliability. A race like this, I would be surprised if any of them have done a 24-hour test. All of them will be caught out by little things that they didn't expect to have go wrong, or they'll be lucky and they'll run through and they'll have a trouble-free race. But that kind of uncertainty adds so much more to the race, and it makes it much more interesting to sit up here and watch and try and work out what's going on, because you know these little things are going to go wrong, and you don't wish little things to go wrong on anybody, but it means that the tension is always there that something's going to happen. And I mean, last year's race was just so tense because we had that brilliant battle going on, and you just felt that something was going to go wrong for one of them or the other, and then they got the penalty, and then we had the very fast driving from John Gore, and then we had I've forgotten who it was for the Jet Alliance team, they put a driver in the car that wasn't as quick, and it all changed. But what we're going to have, I suspect, today and in this race is just little things going wrong because of the heat, because of the pace. I mean, we've, touch wood, only had a couple of safety car incidents so far. They've been mercifully short. If we carry on not having the safety car out there, that enables the drivers to go out there and do what they're paid to do. And that inevitably wears the car out. They inevitably make mistakes. They go off. So it just adds to the interest of the race, for my money.
Yeah, I could agree more. I think it's probably like Le Mans 40 years ago. In fact, before everything did get
exactly,
huge manufacturing involvement. I think forget about the number of years we can say, but certainly with that before the huge manufacturing involvement, it certainly was like that. Donkeys years ago, my uncle was working for Carroll Shelby at Le Mans, and they had a problem which I believe he said was fixed with a dime. Some screw needed doing up or something needed adjusting, and somebody whipped out a dime and it happened to fit and work perfectly.
Yes, it's not just due to the manufacturers being involved, but the very fact that I think people understand much better these days how components stress or how stress affects components, and how to check the life expectancy of components so much better these days, by virtue of doing 24-hour tests and running things through simulation packages and things. As I say, that comes through money, and so many of these teams, I'd be interested to know how many of them actually have never run their car in the dark before. And I would guess a good number of them haven't. Certainly interesting. We've got that number 70 car in the pits, I noticed, the Holden Astra, which has come in for its stop, and I think it's not on its way again just yet, but number 70 then, the Holden Astra in the pits.
They got that up to 13th place, so that's not too sad.
It's not. Now, talking about little problems, we haven't seen any problems for the Top Cats Racing squad, at least for their cars 3 and 27, and therefore they're up into 4th and 5th position, largely by dint of actually running very steadily without any issues. They've gone out of the traps, as Paul was saying a couple of hours ago, and just setting themselves a lap time and just sticking to it, and it's seen them moving inexorably up the order, whereas all of the top 3 cars in the race, as into the pit lane now comes the number 4 Mosler. So the number 4 Mosler peels into the pit lane from 2nd position. We are coming up to 3 hours into this race, so whether that is a scheduled pit stop...
No, it's not. It's 13 laps. And what's that, 47 minutes. So it's not really long enough to use up enough fuel. What was the problem they were describing before? They had a fuel pickup problem, wasn't it? That it was Callum Lockie told us about they were having with that car. I've got the right one. That's the number 4. Yes, it was Callum Lockie's car. They were telling us they had a fuel pickup problem. So it may be that they're not just getting all the fuel out, and they're just going to have to make more frequent stops.
Now, stretching back into my somewhat garbled memory, one of the Moslers in last year's race had the same problem and was forced to run shorter stints than it wanted to. I've got a feeling it was the Runnymede Racing or Top Cats car, but this is, as I say, stretching back into a dim and distant memory.
If you hadn't said that, I would have said it was the Roll Centre one, but
they had an electrical issue, didn't they?
They did, you're right.
Yeah.
Gamski's back out, or the car is anyway, number 1, back out of the pits after a long old stop. They've had 5 pit stops altogether. And I have to say, up into 27th place, which is now their highest placing in the entire race. Number 86, those boys in the army, plus Mr. Jardine.
Yeah, well, Tony Jardine, I'm sure, will have plenty to say about that, won't he? Because he...
Yes, well, I should hope
never
so.
Short of a comment on anything, is Tony.
I have to say, nor are our friends from the army. They know how to put a quote or two together. Once one's edited some of the slightly rough edges of it, there's some great quotes in them.
Well, another hour and 3/4, and we'll send somebody down to interview them after 9 o'clock.
Oops.
Yes. actually, it's amazing having interviewed Jim Cameron a couple of times this year. He does have, I think from what you're saying, Robin, a slightly frayed on-off switch, but normally you'll hear one thing to his colleagues and then quite another thing over the public address. But yes, they have a fairly direct way of communicating, some of the drivers in that squad, but they do enjoy their motor racing, and it is good as well to see Mazda rallying round behind it and putting this car out in the race for these drivers. And I know that Jim Cameron himself has been making an awful lot of effort to really raise the exposure of some of the Army officers and Army staff who race cars, and it's been greeted with really open arms by the motorsports community, and they have had a great deal of support in really getting up and running, getting the exposure, and in turn the Army is able to support an event like the Britcar 24 hours in the way they have done today, with displays and tanks and helicopters to look at for the spectators.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And they are the leading Mazda out there too.
They are, by 34 seconds at the moment, over the journalists' car, which ran a very lengthy first stint, actually, that 75 car, with Matthew Pryor, who we found out earlier on, thanks to Paul Trustwell, who found it for me in the programme. He's a journalist at Autocar. So,
Scuderia Vittoria, they had very early problems, didn't they? And now they're back up into 8th place. That's another bit of a stealth bomber, moving steadily up the times. Second in class at the moment, the Paul Winter Porsche.
I'll just add another word with Callum Lockie, the Strata 21 team, the Mosler. It's still got that fuel pickup problem, but it's also had paddle shifts problem, flat shift problem on the car as well. So they keep going in to try and adjust these problems and fix these problems. Every time they do that, naturally they put as much fuel in as they can just to try and lessen the damage. So still this fuel pickup problem is the real bugbear for them. And Callum says we're probably just going to have to keep coming in now and doing short stints, but we'll just keep plodding on, see what happens. Others might have problems. It's all we can do. But he said typical, the guys have worked so hard to prepare the car, fine-tune it, just check everything over, double-check, triple-check. They're absolutely meticulous in their preparation, but you cannot account for some things going wrong, mechanical issues, and of course it would go wrong now. So a little bit, very frustrating for them. They're going to keep going, but they are probably going to be coming in and out of the pits a lot more than everybody else.
So that is confirmed, that fuel pickup problem, and I guess it's nothing they can really adjust in this race. The only positive, I guess, is they know what their schedule is going to be, and provided they have no other problems, that could still leave them reasonably well positioned. As it is, they've been shuffled down into 4th position as a result of that.
And just so you know, they did change drivers as well, so Paul White's now got into that car.
91, the Piranha Motorsports Ginetta has just gone back to the garages on the back of a low loader, so problems again down at between Stowe and Copse, I think.
Disappointing for them, and their team manager is still in the process of being summoned to race control, so it's all gone slightly wrong there for Piranha Motorsport. They are still up onto the second page of the timing sheets. They're in 38th position. John Martin is absolutely flying in the Aquila. He is now 10 seconds pretty much quicker than anybody else on the circuit. He's already moved himself to within 19 seconds of the number 27 Top Cats Racing Marcos, and he is now on to the same lap as everybody up to and including Paul White in the number 4 Strata 21 Mosler, and he's actually only some 30 seconds adrift of Paul, and Paul in fact is only then 13 seconds back from the Top Cats Racing Mosler in 3rd.
I reckon within an hour, so what are we now, 7:30 in the evening, 8:30, that car will be in 3rd place, unless it pulls off in the darkness. But no, I mean the progress of that car when it's running is very rapid indeed, and it provided it can keep going, deep breath, then it's still in with a shout.
Certainly is. And
Wagomski, a usual problem for the Ferrari within that last stop.
Yeah, it was the seat. The seat bolts fell out twice. We're trying to find out why, but we're hoping it's been fixed. The bolts have fallen out. We don't know why. So we're trying. Well, they fixed it again, and hopefully it's back planted again.
So does that mean that the pit stop was not a scheduled stop?
Oh yeah, no, we had to stop twice because the seat fell out. The seat was running around in the car, so they can't drive it with the seat not bolted in.
But with the pit stop, yes, you probably lost a lap, but it's still the car's going very well.
Oh, the car's on it. I mean, Keith knocked in at 2:07, so the car's definitely got a pace. The car's lovely, no, it's no problem. It's just this seat, very unlucky.
And you've watched the start of the race, we've seen a lot of the leading contenders having problems. Does that fill you a bit of confidence?
Yes, it is. I think it's going to be a difficult night for everybody. It's very strenuous on the car. Nobody expected this weather.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
It's beautiful, yeah, for you.
Alright, have a good one.
Thank you.
Has moved up to second place as a result of the Top Cat's car having its refuelling pit stop, the extra refuelling pit stop, so it's going to be a feature of the rest of the race, but that's allowed the Class 2, remember, Ginetta, which I think now should have Matt Nicol-Jones behind the wheel of it, shouldn't it? Having had that car started by Martin Short. Then it was Mike Simpson, now Matt Nicol-Jones behind the wheel of it. That's now up into second place, so they're playing the opposite role, really. They're playing it softly, slow, and not necessarily slow, but steadily, and it's doing them very nicely indeed, thank you.
Yeah, Matt Nicol-Jones, for me, is one of those drivers who I'm really delighted to see actually getting a good ride in the Britcar 24 Hours. He's possibly one of the missed talents, really, of the past 5 or 6 years, because he was very quick in the BRDC's Formula Ford Championship. He was very quick then in the Ginetta Challenge, and then it all sort of faded away with budget issues and the like, but he's come back with Martin Short in the British GT Championship this year, and again in the Britcar 24 Hours this year, and Matt is currently the second fastest man on track, although he is now 2 laps adrift of the race leading Eclipse Ferrari. I suspect he will probably come around and actually just be that solitary lap behind, and he is closing in on the Ferrari as well, the number 2 car, at the rate of 4 seconds a lap.
I'm going to come in from the cold now, gentlemen, or come in from the warm as it happens. I now officially can't read my paperwork. I'm duped by the headlights of passing cars, but it's not working. So I should be joining you soon. I'm due to take over in the pit lane after a short while. Just a quick word to all those fans of the Army drivers out there. I know there's a lot of guys and girls from the Army camping out here over the weekend. They've just made up to their highest position of the race so far. They've gone up to 26th for car 86. So good effort by them.
That's very impressive, isn't it? So thanks very much to Robin Murphy out at Beckett's. He's been released after 11 and a half hours of duty out at Beckett's today. So
got another 4 or 5 in the pit lane.
Yes.
For a moment there, my heart sang, but I thought, oh no, okay.
Right, can't wait. You may get home at some point tomorrow evening.
Home, remind me again? Home.
It's the old country box at Stowe. We've refurbished it for you.
Excellent. It would need it too. Right, okay, I should be on my way then.
Okay, thank you very much, Robin. Into the pit lane, we have got the Scuderia Vittoria Ginetta Chief. We've also got in the Dorset Sports Porsche, car 66. So they are both into the pit lane. Just a reminder to everybody that this is a 24-hour race. The pit lane is active and so are the garages, and so please, if you are listening to this and you are connected to one of the teams, could we have no children in the garages for the duration of the race, as obviously we've got mechanics working. We're going to have cars coming in and out of there at a little bit of a pace, so please no children in the garages during the course of this race, if that's okay. Thank you very much for adhering to that one. So still, we have got Matt Nicol-Jones in the G55 closing in. Admittedly, it's going to be a very long chase down onto the tail of the Eclipse Ferrari 430. And from what Chris Hite was telling us in the pit lane a little bit earlier on, we have to presume that that's Michael McInerney back behind the wheel, having taken over from Phil Keane, because that car's had 2 pit stops. Phil took over the wheel, and Michael, not a fan of racing in the dark. Chris?
It is, yeah, just to confirm that. It's definitely Michael in the car at the moment.
And so he'll be coming in fairly shortly, won't he? Because if he doesn't like racing in the dark, it is now pretty much pitch black out on the circuit, aside from the illumination that we've got along the pit straight here. And for the garages in the pit lane, super still to see so many people standing in the grandstand, sitting in the grandstands, enjoying the action as this race heads into the night now. It feels a lot later than it really is. It's not yet 7:30, but we are at the 3-hour mark, so I'll just run you down the classification at 3 hours after Paul Truswell has a comment.
Yeah, just because we've got a few seconds before you run down to 3 hours. I'm just looking at that, the leading car really, trying to work out what its schedule might be, and my clever bit of software here, which is just something that I've written, so it's not that clever, but it suggests that the number 2 Ferrari, Mike McInerney, will be coming in at the end of lap 77. Now he's currently on his 70.
We kept going. The driver did a pretty good job, actually. Stayed out there. We came in first to check the car. Said it was all right. We knew what the problem was. The rear suspension had been pushed out of line and that. So we sent him out, and he did his stint, an hour and 20 minutes or so, with the thing handling differently on left and right hand corner. So when we came in to change that, we readjusted the suspension by eye rather than stringing it all up and doing it properly. But as soon as the next driver, which was Tom, went out, he got halfway around the circuit and the ABS failed. But not only the ABS failed, the steering pump failed, power steering failed. So you're doing a 200 and God knows what down in the Stowe, which was quite quick. And he had a character building journey through the gravel and finished at 10 feet away from the Armco. And when we got it back here, we found the main belt had gone on the engine, which was nothing to do with the stop or anything else. It was at the other end. So something from the circuit, a lump of rock or whatever, had got up and in the belt, unseen by the driver, taken the belt off, no power steering, and then, completely coincidentally, suddenly the ABS, we found that was wrong, and there's a computer fault. The only trouble is that all the sensors say they're okay, and we know they're okay because we've checked them electrically, but unfortunately the ECU, the control unit, is not receiving that information. The difficulty is we can run without ABS, which is a braking assistant, but unfortunately the wheel speed sensors also control the gear shift. So we're now going out to see whether we can run without ABS, but we may not get further than third. And third's a bit too low to do another 22 hours on with. So we're just hopeful we can run without ABS. If we can't, then we might have to go to the beach.
These computers in these cars these days, you've been in motorsport for many years. Is it not better not having these computers?
Well, there's no question the computers make it go better when they're working. But if they go down, then you're in the lap of the gods. You really want a 10-year-old. Unfortunately, we haven't got a 10-year-old. So we need somebody who's has the intellect of a sock, but can actually drive a computer. And he can climb into the car and tell us what's wrong. But we have the expert from Aston's here. He's been with us now since we came into the pits the last time, and he can't find a problem. So we can't do an awful lot more than that. We've changed everything. We've checked everything. There may be a fault in an ECU which we can't get into because it's made by Magneti Marelli and they're in bed or they're on the beach. I don't know. But anyway, we're doing what we can. But it's almost impossible if you have an intermittent electrical computerized fault. You can't do just points and plugs.
Hugh, you're a fighter. I'm sure you'll be out there at some point.
Oh, we're stroppy, all right. We're quite happy to have a go, but I don't want to risk my guys going into Stowe at 140 miles an hour and braking and finding nothing and going straight in the Armco. That would be silly. But apart from that, we'll be there.
Thanks very much for talking to us.
Okay, cheers.
There to Chris Hartley for the update in the pit lane. That car down in 47th position, having had a number of fairly lengthy pit stops. We have got just the one retirement. Well, we got the sign up saying it was a retirement, the Optimum Racing Ginetta G50, but it would appear to have gone out and maybe circulated a couple more laps as well. So that car has, having retired, now unretired itself.
Leaders in the pits, and the software must work. So the Mike McInerney Ferrari number 2 is in the pits, and I've no doubt Chris is down there helping them change the wheels, putting the fuel in.
Yes, I'm sure he probably.
That's why he's not talking to us.
Probably isn't not talking to us. Either that, or he's got fed up with us trying to put him in the pit crew for every car in the race. So they are in bang on schedule, as you said, Paul. And is that going to promote the Rolls to come? Not sure. Chris,
I'm here, and don't worry, I made it down. The Vantage Aston Martin has gone back out as well after a long time in the pits after its ABS failure and its trip through the gravel earlier on. So that's just gone back out, released back onto the jacks then. Sean McInerney now going out for his first stint in the race-leading car, the Eclipse Motorsport Ferrari 430. Sean, a very experienced racer. He started out way back in the day in Ford Fiestas, but all sorts of historic racing with Dad Michael, lots of endurance racing, lots of Britcar experience, of course, for him as well. So it looks like a pretty good stop, that. Michael is out of the car. Let's see if we can grab him for a quick word.
Still in the lead.
Michael, any chance of a quick word for the... just follow me out here. First of all, Michael, first thing I've got to ask you is, what is that you're drinking? You've got a shiny pink drink, some sort of energy fluid.
It's the energy back in, yeah. It's supposed to put the minerals back in, they tell me.
Not a strawberry milkshake.
No, not as nice as that.
You've had a busy start because you've done 2 stints already in this race, but you must be very pleased with the way it went. I mean, that first stint was great for you. You had some good overtakes as well and a really good start to the race.
Yeah, the big thing for us is just to stay out of trouble to go into the night. That's me done for the night. I don't drive through the night because I've got an eye problem, but the 2 boys now will go back to back, and their pace is very good in the dark. So come the morning, hopefully we should be in good shape.
How hard was it to do 2 long stints with not much of a gap in the middle?
Sorry?
How long was it to do 2 pretty hard, busy stints with not much of a rest for you in the middle?
Yeah, I got an hour and a half was the first stint because obviously we had lots of fuel. I was supposed to have an hour out, but the safety car came out after about 40 minutes, so we thought it would be a good strategy for me to jump back in again. So I had a 40-minute break, so it's a lot cooler now. It's much easier to drive now than it was earlier.
Is it quite tricky when I've heard drivers at 24 or 25-hour races say to me before, quite a tricky point of the race is when the light starts to go. Is that right?
Very tricky, yeah. I was starting to miss apexes and my time's really dropped there, so it's telling. The boys are much better in the night than I am, but as it goes to dusk, it haunts you with the shadows and stuff.
And then when it does finally go dark, you've had obviously a few laps in that now. What's that like? I mean, how difficult is it to just stay within the same braking points, apexes? Because I guess it's quite light here by the pits, but I guess out the back there it's pretty pitch black, isn't it?
Out the back it's very dark. There are some little sort of cat's eyes. So once you dial into where they are and pick some turning in points around those cat's eyes, life's a little bit easier.
All right, Mike, I'll let you have a rest and enjoy your milkshake or whatever it is. Cheers. Thank you very much, Mike McInerney there, who is going to have a well-earned rest now after getting that car up into the lead. And his very able son is now in the car, Sean McInerney.
Our next job for you, Chris, is to go down and check the Top Cats number 3 Mosler, because that just came in. Again, I know they've had their problems with fuel pickup. No, the number 3 one. Sorry, that's not the one that's been having the fuel pickup problems, is it? The number 3 is the Top Cats Mosler. That one came in, and it seemed to me, although it was at a scheduled stop, it seemed to me to be a bit longer than it ought to have been. So,
right.
As I say, I think they just spent a little bit longer doing what they had to do. Whether they've got a problem or something else, I don't know. But
I will endeavour to investigate.
And I apologise for this, Chris, but also we've got the number 4, the number 4 Strosh 21 Mosler back in as well, and that is a very short run for that car.
Yeah, 6 laps that last stint with Paul White at the wheel.
Yeah, I think they've got this paddle shift problem as well. It's just compounding matters for them, isn't it? So massively frustrating for them. Not going to achieve anything if they keep stopping every 6-10 laps, are they?
No, it's getting to that stage, isn't it, where
you have to fix things rather than just get on with the race without fixing things. You're better off spending some time fixing it and then doing some speed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's getting to that stage where actually an hour lost in the pits now making repairs is better than an hour lost through just an accumulation of pitting in really once every 20-30 minutes, which is what is currently the issue. So we have got 3 of the top 5 cars in, and it means, Paul, that you were slightly pessimistic in terms of promoting the Aquila back onto the podium, because car number 6 is now up into 3rd position.
I said I said 8 o'clock, didn't I? And it's only just gone 7:30.
Yes, so 20 minutes or 25 minutes just ahead of schedule there for John Martin in the Aquila. He's on the same lap now as the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta G55, and he is 2.25 minutes back, but he's lapping 10 seconds a lap more rapidly, so that gap is likely to be moving downwards. We've got now the team manager of the Gemco Ginetta G50 being summoned to race control, so I would guess, based on the running they've done, that's either Lee Smart or Kevin Hancock probably at the wheel of that.
and we've just had the Eclipse Motorsport Ferrari go back past me. Now that went out and did a lap, didn't it? So that's had an extra stop.
Very good spot. Yes, I just saw the red dot against that, Chris, on the timing screen. So I presumed it's just been a longer pit stop, but it's not. So a very good spot. Also into the pits as well. This is really the leaders all peeling in now. It's Matt Nicol-Jones who pits in the Ginetta G55, the Roll Centre racing car. Now, how does that work for you, Paul, in terms of whether that's a little bit premature or bang on schedule?
This is car number 30. He's on lap 77. He just completed 77 laps. He's done 28 laps on that tank full, and he was last in at 6:30. It's now 7:39, so that's pretty good to me. That's a scheduled stop for that car.
Okay, so that's a scheduled stop. And that
it should be Nicol-Jones to hand over now to Colin Turkington if everything's correct.
Well, that is a very quick driver about to take over. Colin Turkington, 2009 British touring car champion, and then, as is so often the way, has struggled a little bit for budget thereafter. What that means now is that John Martin is going to be up into second place, and pending any issues with the race-leading Ferrari, he's now back onto the lead lap as well as John Martin. He's 2 3/4 minutes adrift of Sean McInerney at the wheel of the number 2 Ferrari 430. But back onto the lead lap for the Aquila. Obviously, once John pits in and has his pit stop, then he'll slip back off the lead lap, but it does bring them very much back into contention after the dramas that they experienced far earlier on in the race. Also, still in the pit lane now is the number 4 Moser Stratis 21 car that was running metronomically for the first really 2 hours of the race, but since then that they've been really struggling. They've also got into the pits, and this again is, I would presume, a scheduled pit stop, the number 46 Motion Sport Elise, and that is going to be to hand over to Ben Gower, provided that they're sticking to the driver order that they submitted a little bit earlier on. So Ben Gower will be taking his turn for his first stint of the race in the Motion Sport Elise, which is currently second in Class 3, still leading Class 3, and in 6th place overall is the Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin car 49, which is lapping very steadily and is moved up in 6th position, whilst the Mosler number 4 continues to sit in the pit lane. So Paul White has only done a handful of laps after a weekend of racing. Hopefully, whatever the issues are with that car, that they decide that they are repairable, and we will see that car back out in the action, because such is the pace of that Mosler that even if they lose an hour before we hit the 20 hour to go mark of the race, or sort of the 18 hour to go mark in the race, provided it runs reliably thereafter, it can still bring them back into contention. Talking of being back into contention, the number 1 MJC Ferrari is back up into the top 20, into 17th position. That car lapping a good 10 seconds lap quicker than probably the 6 or 7 cars up ahead of it along the road. So the number 1 car making good progress back up through the field following their seat dramas. Whether that's Keith Robinson at the wheel, I don't know, but Robinson was due to hand over to John Gore, so if it's Robinson or Gore, it's certainly a very rapid driver who's going to be behind the wheel of that car for the next hour or so. So the gap between Sean McInerney in lead the race and John Martin in second place in the Aquila is now down to 1 minute 6.478 seconds. So John Martin is driving the wheels off the Aquila to bring it back into contention, and at the same time, although he is lapping very, very quickly, he is nowhere near really the incredibly quick brace of laps that he set at the very start of his stint, the 2 minutes 7, then 2 minutes 5.9, which remains the fastest lap of the race, setting that on lap 57. So he has been out now, Paul, John Martin, for over 20 laps. So it might not be too long until we see John coming into the pits. But depending on how quickly Sean McInerney gets up to pace, it's possible he may pit in as the race leader.
This is the Aquila you're talking about.
Yes, number 6.
And it's coming in on lap 78. What are we on now? On 79. So, it's well within its pit stop window now. it's been difficult to work it out, because what's it done? It had a stop-go penalty, didn't it, earlier on for Bob Berridge's misdemeanours. Then they had the slow lap. They had a slow stop when they handed it from Bob Berridge to Gareth Evans, with Bob Berridge's description of just not getting their act sufficiently together. Then they had the electronic problem with the misfire. So they've kind of never really had a proper full stint. So the simulation isn't quite working on that one. But as I say, anytime now it can come in and it will be on schedule.
Except to say, of course, all those less scheduled pit stops, the car might just be running with slightly fuller tanks of fuel than they otherwise would have been expecting to. So, continuing to circulate, and 6 seconds a lap quicker than Sean McInerney is John Martin in the Aquila. So, long may this stint continue, as more importantly as well for John Martin, because he's just gone through, he is fractionally over a lap now behind the race leading Ferrari, because if John Martin is able to stay out, he's not quite going to bring him onto the lead lap following the pit stop, but certainly he's going to be within contention to get that car back onto the lead lap of the race very shortly after the pit stop, and provided it can continue to close in on the race leading Ferrari, then they will both be on the lead lap for the next round of pit stops. The team manager of car number 2 also has been called to race control, so we've got the team manager for the race leading Ferrari number 2 has been summoned to race control, so we'll find out in due course whether that has resulted in any penalty being issued. Also continuing to make good progress following on from another pit stop is the number 27 Top Cats Racing Marcos Mantis. That car back up into 4th position, having overhauled the Mosler through the pit stops. So the Top Cats Racing squad really putting together a very strong race at this stage, as is the Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin, which is in 6th, leading Class 3. 7th place and leading, or second in Class 3, is the Marcos Racing Lotus, number 57, and that car has, in the early stages, again, bounced in and out of the pits, but since then has really been setting a very steady pace. And if they are on to driver number 3, then that is the Alistair McKinnon at the wheel, as there is some news from the pit lane.
Yeah, the first thing to confirm is it is still Keith Robinson in the MJC Ferrari number 1, so Keith circulating very quickly. The number 4 Mosler is in the garage and has been since it came into the pits last time out 5 or 10 minutes ago. So they have now decided that enough is enough. They're going to try and sort this fuel pickup problem out rather than just keep going out doing a few laps and trying to live with it. So that is in the garage still. And the other Mosler, the Top Cats Racing Mosler, number 3, has gone back out. Henry Fletcher is now behind the wheel. It's also got a fuel issue. It's only taking 50 litres of fuel. They can't top it up. And when it starts to run lower than sort of half a tank, it starts having a pickup issue as well. So they too are probably going to have to be doing shorter, more frequent pit stops, which is going to keep them busy, because Top Cats, they've got 3 cars. They had 3 cars last year, and in total last year in the 24 hours, the 3 crews that split themselves up into did 54 pit stops. Busy time ahead.
Very much so, because essentially for what you're saying there, Chris, is that they're only having 25 litres of fuel at their disposal on each stint before the performance knocks off.
Yeah, basically, yeah, they can only get 25. Well, between 25 and 50, they're saying that, but they can't let it run right down at all. They can't get anywhere near that. So sort of half a tank to a quarter of a tank is where it starts missing.
Chris, can you tell them that my software only goes up to 36 stops?
Yeah, I did say it. That looks like lots of pit stops for you then, and there was quite a rueful smile, like, yeah, it's going to be a long night.
If they know they're going to break Paul's software, then that means they will bring the car in for repairs. We have got the safety car once more, unfortunately, so the safety car making its 3rd appearance of the evening. Thank you very much to Chris Hartley for the update in the pit lane. So the safety car is out, and I'm just looking on the monitor, which is going to give us a limited level of joy, I would venture, in the pitch black, but hopefully we can pick out a stationary set of headlights which will then tell us what it is that has brought the safety car out. Now we had this last year. I'm glad to say we've got it this year, is that the safety car has also got a transponder for the TSL timing, and so the safety car is currently 58th position, but but if it's out for another 3 laps, it's going to move up to 57th, the move ahead of John Thorne. So it won't stay out for 3 laps, though, because we go green almost immediately. And at a guess, Paul, I think that could be that when I first moved to CCTV, we had a car that was apparently static on the exit of Maggots, on the concrete runoff area there, just on the exit of Maggots, which then fired up and drove back onto the circuit. So that could be what prompted such a brief safety car intrusion.
You know, I said the Eclipse Motorsport car had gone out, done a lap and come back in and gone straight back out again.
Yes.
Well, Michael McInerney's just told me there were a couple of issues. One, the door came open, and 2, Sean's earphones dropped out, so he couldn't hear the radio calls. So with both of those combined, he came straight back in, got the door sorted, got the earphones back in and went straight back out. So they've lost a bit of their lead, obviously, but they still are in the lead.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, that's not what you want, is it? First lap of the stint, no radio and a door open, although it will improve the ventilation. So very disappointing. Well, not very disappointing, but disappointing for them in that it's one pit that they didn't need to make. But if that, again, is the only thing that goes wrong for the Ferrari over the course of the race, then it's not a disaster. They continue to be reeled in by John Martin, who is yet to make the pit stop to bring an end to his stint. He is now 81 laps into this race, and John Martin set that car's fastest lap on lap 57, which was his second flying lap of his stint from memory. So John Martin has now been behind the wheel for quite some time. Whether or not he'll double stint remains to be seen, but he is now just over 50 seconds adrift of the race leader in the number 2 car.
He's been in the car an hour and a half now. He took over at 6:30 thereabouts.
So yeah, that's a fairly impressive stint from John Martin, but I guess this is exactly why it's hard for this weekend, being an international level single-seater driver, to do these longer stints at the pace that's going to keep the car in contention. Well, the driver who's going to take over from Nigel Mustill, who we haven't yet seen at the wheel of the Aquila in car number 6, so he'll be taking over that. We've had a very poor lap there for Sean McInerney, and it could have been Sean that prompted that mini safety car period, because Sean McInerney's just crossed the line with a time of 2 minutes 43.076, and that means that John Martin is now just 18 seconds back from the race leading number 2 car. So whatever's happened, it's been a bit of a moment for Sean McInerney on that lap, and he has given away 33 seconds to the car in second position. And then there's a 2-lap gap back now to the third place car, which is the number 27 Top Cats Racing Marcos Mantis, and then in fourth place it's number 3 Top Cats Racing Mosler. With up into 5th position now has come the number 49 Nicholas Mee Racing Sir Martin. The reason for that being the pit stop for the number 30 Roll Centre Racing Ginetta G55, which again has had a very slow lap on that last occasion, a 3-minute 31 lap for the Ginetta, so that has plummeted down into 7th position now. So plenty of drama once again. So Colin Turkington having a few issues at the start of his stint behind the wheel of the number 30 car, and in fact that car is now back into the pits, or is it? No, it's out of the pits, and instead it was me reading the timing screen all wrong. It's been in the pit lane for a very long time, over 13 minutes, so that's what's dropped them down into 7th position. So maybe something slightly more than just a routine fuel and tyre stop there for the Roll Centre Racing Ginetta G55. Also into the pits is number 65 car, the Sub-Zero Wolf Sayat, which has climbed all the way up into the top 10.
I don't quite think so, Ben. Just to go back, the pit stop, the number 30 Ginetta you were talking about, it's done 4 pit stops now, hasn't it? So it actually did do a lap. So he came in, handed over to Colin Turkington, and came straight in on the next lap, which is the same as Chris was telling us happened with the McInerney's Ferrari. Bizarrely, both did 1 lap. Both came in about the same time, so we need to investigate that one, don't we? So it did go out again, definitely, the number 30, and Colin Turkington has brought it back in after just a lap.
So, yes, that would make sense, because it went out, it did, even by the standards of outlaps, a fairly slow outlap before peeling back in. The gap now between the leads is down to just 10 seconds, so Sean McInerney, having recovered from that bad lap, his last through of the circuit was a 2 minutes 18.3, and then John Martin in the Aquila car number 6 did a 2 minutes 10.429, so the gap fractionally over 10 seconds, which means if John Martin can eke another 2 laps out of this stint, then that is going to mean that he's driven that car all the way up through the top 10 pretty much, and will have claimed the lead of the race. So they're both currently in the second sector on the lap now, and then we'll pick them up when they come through, complete the lap, and see just how much that gap has come down by. Also back into the pit lane again, and this can't be scheduled, is the number 1 Ferrari. So the number 1 Ferrari, MJC Ferrari, making its 6th pit stop of the race. That, though, was quite a quick in-lap, a 2 minutes 16 in-lap prior to peeling into the pits. So coming out. So yes, disappointment for them. Now, whether that's the seat, I don't know.
It's been out for a little while, actually. Time begins to fly as the race moves on. He's been out for 50 minutes. This is Keith Robinson we're talking about, yeah?
Who did do about 10 minutes, didn't he, before that first range?
Yes.
So
he did 7 laps, and now he's done another 17 laps. Altogether, he's been in the car. I'll tell you later how long he's been in the car. 18:08 he got in, so 2 hours of driving for Keith Robinson. So it might be that he's just decided enough's enough, had time to change, time for John Gore to get in. That Brian was telling us it was time for dinner.
It was. I think it's the quadruple stinting that we're doing up here, Paul, that is making the stints from the drivers just actually really, it feels like they're going by in the blink of an eye. So the gap, though, between the leaders is down to fractionally over 4 seconds now, 4.1 seconds.
Could change on this lap, actually, Ben.
It could, couldn't it? That would be quite something from John Martin, wouldn't it, to have claimed the lead to the race. Unfortunately, though, it's going to be just after 8:30, although your hypothesis was top 3 by 8:30. He's achieved that.
Well, 8 o'clock, I said.
8 o'clock, yes.
Yeah, it's 5 to 8.
Time is flying, yes. Sorry. Yes, it's a little bit difficult because the race clock is saying 20:33, and there's going to be an overlap period because the time clock is saying 19:56. And I'm reaching the point where I can't read numbers properly, hence the confusion. And yes, so apologies, it's 20 hours and 32 minutes left in the race. It is coming up to 3 minutes to 8 o'clock, and we could see a change for the lead of the race here on this occasion. So it's going to be a case, I think, for looking for what's going to emerge in terms of an illuminated number on the side of the car through Woodcote. Will it be a 6 or a 2 this time around?
It's a 3.
Yes, it's a 3 from the Top Cats Mosler. And that car.
Go on.
Yes, sorry, Paul.
No, I was trying to pick it out by headlights, and that's always a dangerous thing to do. But it's fun, isn't it? It's the great thing about night racing. You kind of pick them out and say, is that the Aquila? No.
Once we see it back out on track, the MJC Ferrari, which has gone back out now, probably in the hands of John Gore, has got sort of a close encounter the third kind headlight bank on the front of the car that they're able to flash to let the cars in front know that it's coming, which John Gore was deploying all the way through last year's race. And
there we go, 6, just gone through. 6 now, 2 now. So 3 seconds, I would say, separating first from second, and it's changed. So lap 85, and we have another change of lead, and that means that we've now had 5 changes of lead in this race, as the Aquila takes the lead for the first time since 5:30. Led the first 27 laps of the race, and now it's back in the lead of the race.
And has also done a 30-lap run between pit stops here as well, because the first lap of the race was set on lap 57. We're now on the 86th lap of the race, and that fastest lap was set a couple of laps into the run there by John Martin. So that car must surely be due a pit stop in the next few minutes.
Yeah, he was in on lap 50, in fact. Lap 50 was the stop lap, so 51. He's on 35 laps.
So well over 100 miles in that tank of fuel then by my maths, just about over 100 miles. The fight for third and fourth place is just going to come together quite nicely, because we've got the two Top Cats racing cars, the Marcos number 27 and then the Mosler number 3, and the number 3 Mosler on the previous lap gained considerable ground, but then this time round we've seen a very strong lap from the Top Cats Marcos into the teens once more in the 2 minutes, so 2 minutes 19.1 from the number 27 car. We await the number 3 car to come streaming through, and then we'll see what the gap between them is. And then there's the gap back in 5th place. It's still number 49, the Nicholas Mee Racing Aston Martin. 6th place, number 57, and that is the Marcos Racing Lotus. And then 7th place, 66, the Dorset Sports number 66 car. 8th place in leading class 4 is 83, the CTR Developments car. 9th place, the Intersport Squad number 68. And then rounding out the top 10 is the number 46, Lotus Elise, with in 11th place, starting from the pit lane, the number 84 Red Camel Seat. And all sorts of problems still for the Roll Centre G55, number 30, which has slipped down now into 12th position. The gap between third and fourth is fractionally over half a minute, 33.9 seconds. And John Martin is going to go through and into another lap. He's already done that. So John Martin is now exactly 8 seconds clear of Sean McInerney in second place. And so post pit stop, it is going to be the Aquila that feeds back into second position. Because the number 27 car is 2 laps back from there. Other battles that are just closing up quite nicely. For 9th and 10th, the 68, the black BMW, is being reeled in by the number 46 Lotus. So they are separated by just 4.1 seconds, but the Lotus number 46 is 4 seconds a lap quicker at the moment than the BMW. So they are closing on each other in the top 10. Another pit stop here for the Ginetta G55 number 30. It went out, it's done another solitary lap of the circuit and has peeled back into the pits once more. So disaster for them. So that's been 2 lengthy pit stops and 2 tentative installation laps, and that car is back into the pits. And for Martin Short and the Roll Centre squad as well, this is very disappointing, because last year when they were running the Mosler, that car,
Avast virus database has been updated.
Was withdrawn round about midnight with persistent electrical issues that kept causing the car to threaten to catch fire, or actually catch fire. It was melting the rear bodywork due to the heat it was developing, and therefore they couldn't work out what the issue was, and that caused them to withdraw that car. And again, the Roll Centre Racing entry encountering all sorts of issues during the relatively early stages of this race. We've also had in the pit lane now for quite some time the 65 Sub-Zero Wolf car that pitted in.
The Mosler in the pits.
Various issues with the car leading up to the weekend, but this one is a fueling issue. We think we've traced it to a fuel pressure regulator. We've sourced one, we're changing it. I'm not sure how long a job it is. We've been in the pits about 25 minutes. Assuming that's it, we should be good for a clear run. Engine's good, driver's spot on, so fingers crossed.
Yes. We've seen obviously on the live streaming that you it looks good when it's hard there, and it was really hard.
Fantastic. It's been really exciting for us because we've teamed up with the 2 Spanish drivers we've been racing against all year. They're both very, very hard drivers. It's been great to have them in the team. No egos, totally professional, getting the job done. Thank God for Matt from Britcar, because without this data, it's really in a mess. So it's just, I think we'll be okay. We've got miles and miles and miles to go. We haven't managed to get any penalties, which is great. I see a lot of the other teams doing problems in that department. So, yeah, we're looking good. We're all right.
Thanks so much.
No problem.
Gear shift patterns, a gadget that it's perhaps one gadget too far. They were trying a few things out on this car. Lawrence said I never really wanted it on, and so they've took that off, but then it's gone back out. Now it's got an electrical and basically a throttle mapping problem, so they can't get, as you can see from the lap times that we've just witnessed, they can't get any power out of it because the throttle's not electronically being controlled properly to get full throttle out of the car. So what Kurt Turkington, the 09 British Touring Car Champion, went out, did a lap very slowly, and he said shortest stint in the history of stints, because he did literally a lap and he's got back out, and they put Martin Short back in the car because Martin obviously knows the car like the back of his hand, and he's going to try and solve the problem. So Collins on standby, you might well get back in wanted to sort the problem out and go out again. But Martin Short has hopped in to try and work the problem out. They've had the laptop on the car, but a couple of electronic issues really ruining what was turning into a very good race for them.
Yeah, hugely disappointing there.
Wasn't a short circuit, was it?
Taxi.
Hey!
It's going to get worse as well, isn't it?
For 5:08, that's pretty good going. So down into 12th position is the Royal Centre Racing car, although from what Chris was saying there in the pit lane, likely that car is maybe going to have a succession of relatively lengthy pit stops, as John Martin has gone into lap 89. So Martin continuing what is turning into a fairly mammoth stint here in the Aquila, and that was one of his best laps for quite some time, a 2 minutes 9.068 from John Martin. So Martin is continuing to move away here from Sean McInerney on that occasion, able to extend the advantage by 6 seconds, so it's now just over 17 seconds.
I mean, it may be, Ben, that they're still trying to find out themselves how the fuel consumption is, because in race conditions they may not know exactly how far it'll go, and provided they're confident with the fuel gauge, then they know how much fuel they're using, they'll know how much is in the tank and at what rate it's going down. So whilst it's going so well, and whilst John Martin is seemingly in such good form, then it seems silly to bring him in if he's just going quicker and quicker while he's out there.
I totally agree, except to say that the last thing I want to do is just push their luck too far and lose a fair amount of time if that car needs to be then hauled in on the back of a flatbed from the extreme